So I'll go through those options again, briefly. Siddhasana, heels lined up with each other in the midline of the body. That's one version of Siddhasana, there are others. Sukhasana, 2 blocks. If you've got them, remember you can use books instead of blocks, one on top of the other, with a blanket underneath the shins. That's a crossed leg. That means there should be a gap between the legs and the pelvis, like that. And then finally, Virasana, where the legs are folded back and the inner ankles come on the outside of the outer hips. Inner ankles on the outside of the outer hips, just. And any amount of blocks or books, of course, that is comfortable, makes it more comfortable, is the right thing to use. So I hope between those options you've got a comfortable seated position. And the chest goes up and the tummy goes in, but it's not dramatic. You know, I sort of, without even knowing I'm doing it. So this sort of tummy in, chest up, because you can feel your lower back muscles lengthening. Welcome a few more people coming in. Welcome on. Nothing that exciting's happened yet if you've just come in. Kind of exciting to see everyone, that was exciting. So we've got Siddhasana, Sukhasana, Virasana as options. Cross-legged heels near the pelvis, cross-legged gap between the legs and pelvis, or folded back legs. And we've lifted the chest. And we're interocepting, we're bringing our attention into the heart. And we're imagining 2 points. This is the meditation we've been doing the last few days, and that's good to repeat these different meditations until you're used to them. So this comes from the VBT, the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra. 2 points here and here. This one up here is 12 finger widths above the crown of your head, and therefore it's called the Dvada Shanta. Okay? And this one down here, we can call it Hrid. Some systems just call it Hrid, which means heart. Okay? And so between these 2 points, we imagine the breath is moving. So as you inhale, the breath moves down from the top point to the bottom point, and there's a little pause, natural pause, and then you breathe out, and it goes back to the top point. And then it just carries on like that. Okay, so we've already mixed 3 elements: breath, awareness, and visualization, imagination. But because most of us are quite distracted or distractible, we can add another element, another visual element, that is to add a bindu. So as you're breathing in, you imagine a ball of light, scintillating light, moving down with the breath between the points, and then up. You know, like this, I'm making my hand kind of move around to imply the sort of scintillating light, you know, beautiful blue and white or something like that. You know, so that's another element. And of course, really feeling into it. There's a chance it will naturally extend your breath a bit. Pranayama means, of course, extension or expansion of prana. In this case, we're correlating prana with breath. And we're going to add one more element as well. There are other elements we could still add. One more element is mantra. And we've been using, maybe you've been in classes when we've been doing this, Buddho, which means awakened, or the awakened one, Buddho, or to awaken. Buddha means the awakened one, we've all heard of the Buddha. From the root Bud, which just means to awake. So Buddho, divided in 2 halves. Bud, as you breathe in, with the scintillating light. Ho, as you breathe out. Between these 2 points, with this bindu, this point of scintillating light moving, with this mantra moving. So we're syncing all these elements up together. Bud, Ho. And there may even come a little kumbhaka, which is a natural pause. And where you can just feel that scintillating light scintillate a little longer at the bottom or top point. Just a couple more rounds of this interesting practice. Put on the way in, ho on the way out. Way in is coming from the top to the bottom. That's as we're breathing in. And little pauses at one end or the other, little kumbakas, little pauses. A couple more rounds. And when you feel ready to end it, we're going to end it with the inhalation and the bindu arriving, scintillating in the heart. And the bindu is going to stay as you breathe out. You can imagine that you've planted or landed that point of light. And it stays there. And then you carry on breathing. So you sort of disconnect the bindu from the breath, as it were, and leave the bindu as a point. You can correlate the word bindu with a singularity or black hole. The beginning of the universe is singularity, an event of unprecedented intensity. So we're leaving that point in the heart. We're breathing normally. The eyes are soft, the brain is soft, the throat is soft. Good. And then we're going to release the hands. We're going to come out of whichever of the positions we chose. We're going to come into a little Adho Mukha Svanasana to stretch things out. There's loads of ways to approach Adho Mukha Svanasana, but we'll all start on our hands and knees. That's how we'll start it. So starting on your hands and knees, just check you're all okay. Good. Okay, good. And then checking or making sure your hands are a little bit further forwards than your shoulders. Your hands are a little bit further forwards than your shoulders. So when I was younger, there were less yoga teachers and less yoga styles. So now there's a lot of different options with downward style, but we'll look at a couple of them. But what isn't really optional is your sense of arrival through your palms. That's fundamental. So with your toes tucked under, with your hands spread and having checked that they're equidistant, or checking now, from the sides and front of the mat, as you move left and right, say with your pelvis, you can feel the weight changing on different parts of your hands. And if your breath is free, then your intuition will flow. And if your breath is shallow, then your intuition is cut off. Simply because when your breath is shallow, it indicates a sense of doubt. That must mean that you're going to the wrong places for your information. There's a place where you can get information from, and there are places where there's no information. There's no information in the past. There's no information in the future. Information means real, live information. There's memories about the past, but that's not information. That's electrical signals in the present that remember things in a biased and distorted way. And the future, of course, hasn't happened. When you're ready, lift up your bum and glance back towards your feet to check that they are also equidistant from the sides of the mat. Now, how far they are from the sides of the mat isn't relative to how far the hands are necessarily, unless you decide to make them the same, but they don't have to be the same. The hands could be narrow, the feet could be wide, feet could be narrow, the hands could be wide. But what does matter is that the left foot is the same distance from the side of the mat as the right foot is, and that the right hand is the same distance from the side of the mat as the left hand is. That's all that matters. Now, as mentioned, there's several different ways of looking at the pose. There's some, in the last sort of 15 years, maybe 20, some schools have been encouraging people to keep their heads more in line with the spine, like I'm doing here, and just pushing back, and moving left and right, and so on. And that's fine, nothing wrong with that. As long as you're using it as a portal through movement, then it still works, Others that I'm, that I was brought up on, the head releases and you stretch and lengthen a line on the inner armpit all the way through to your inner groin. Your inner armpit. That takes a lot of imagination and feeling to lengthen up through those lines. So from your inner armpits to your inner groins. So you're not collapsing. You know, it could be a collapsing thing. That's not collapsing because of that line of energy supporting you. Okay, well done. That will do. Come down and sit in a kneeling position. Now you can use a block between the heels and buttocks if your knees are tight. You should in that scenario. And if you haven't got a block, and by the way, it shouldn't be a hard block, it should only be a soft block. If you haven't got a block, then of course you can use a towel or a blanket, not a fleece blanket, however, they're too soft. Taking a few breaths, moving in your shins. Perhaps the eyes are closed or half closed. And it's a meditation, which means it's something we want to dissolve into, or that we are dissolving into. So no one defined meditation for me in my young days of practice. And so I was confused. You know, for at least a decade or more, I was confused. I still practice regularly and a lot, so I had faith. But I was confused. You know, what is meditation? But it's very simple. Something you disappear into. And we've been talking about how in yoga, disappearing into the living sensations via your body, which is your starting point, living sensations in the body are connected to the movements of the entire universe. You start with your body and you feel the living sensations, and that's why we're moving. To feel into the living sensations, to give unto the living sensations, using old English there. Give unto. But it kind of works. Sometimes you've got to use old English because there's not words in new English for it. Okay, release your hands and stretch your legs out in front of you. And it's not a bad idea to give yourself a bit of vitality. So you could rub the legs, you could rub the back of the pelvis, the face, the neck, the hair, shoulders, you know, wherever, chest, back. We're distributing energy. That's what we're doing. It's called an energy bath. Everyone in the world does it, even if they don't know it. Everyone in the world does it. You'll start noticing them do it, people just in ordinary fields of life. Then from there, we're going to lean the body back by 30 degrees and then raise the legs up, potentially by 60. Now that might feel like, no, Jim, no, I hate it, I don't want to do it. That's fine, you can still do it. But if it's too strong, you can't digest it, you can bend the knees. You can have the knees bent like this. I don't suggest to sort of bend the knees and then straighten them and bend it. Yeah, that's even harder. But choose one or the other, and then breathe into it. And of course, it's a meditation, so it feels like it's something that's hard work, but actually we can change that and make it something that we disappear into, the living tissue, the living moment. So in the Shakta tradition, the Vidyapita tradition, and the Vajrayogini traditions, then we have this goddess worship, which is the living moment. Okay, bend your knees, you're probably done, aren't you? Okay, hug, lift, breathe. Hug, lift, breathe. Okay, hug your legs, lift your lower back, breathe. And movement might come. Like left and right might come. Remember, you want this to absorb you because you want to be liberated, right? Because most of us sometimes suffer from, various mental and emotional ailments, alienation, fear, stuff. I don't want to list it all. And so we want something to liberate us. We try all sorts of things, maybe I had more money, or maybe I had more whatever. I would be liberated, but the goddess liberates, here and now. Instead of to wait for anything. So the goddess means the living moment. That's all it means. The living moment. And the living moment's not an abstraction, it's now. You get into it via the body. The body is your portal. That's why we're moving. That's why we're seeing which ways that we can move. Could be fast, could be slow, could be not at all. are best for us here and now in terms of opening up the breath. Okay, the next pose has a couple of different stages. Let's be clear from the get-go that the first stage does a lot of good for you. You don't need to go to any other stages. So we're either going to hop up on a block or a book. So I'll go for a book, just to sort of sympathise with anyone who doesn't have a block. This is the rather slightly abused now, the unadorned thread of yoga, a collection of different translations of Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. Anyway, you squat on whatever it is you're squatting on. A book, something like, you know, the Encyclopedia Britannica would be good if you have that. People don't have those anymore because it's all online, but anyway. And then I would recommend, if you've got sleeves that you can roll up, see how I can roll up my sleeves, that you do. Or you might not have sleeves on at all, in which case you're good to go. Then we're going to bring the body through, like this, through the inside of the legs, and just breathe into the lower back. So this is the stage that I said is beneficial because you're stretching all of the lower back muscles and the thoracolumbar fascia, which is the connective tissue that many muscles connect to, like the latissimus dorsi, that runs along your back. And the thoracolumbar fascia often gets over-thickened in many people and can cause problems. So stretching it's the way to release, to melt some of it and to hydrate it better. Then your arms are going to go pressed back against your legs. And at this point, everything that needs to be done has been done. You have enough. You have enough to breathe into, to release your tailbone, to say yes to. And there may be many parts of our bodies and minds that aren't saying yes. There are many parts that are, but those that aren't are what we're retrieving from the past and future, or from ideas about ourselves in the present. We're retrieving them. And many of us are resistant to retrieving our minds from the past and future because we have a belief that they're supposed to be there, but they're not. There's no need for that. You're needed here now. One or two people might feel, oh, I've kind of got my legs on my arms and I could just try leaning forwards and putting more pressure on my arms. And that would be fine as well. You could try these sort of almost like little press-ups. They don't take much work. And you come, again, perhaps even less, might find that they're so light on the toes that they lift the toes. So this is Bakasana. That's optional. As I mentioned before, the other stages have got it all going on. Coming back down if you went up, and then coming out and putting whatever it was, book, block, to one side. Now onto your hands and knees, you're probably going to have to want to catch your breath. So wiggle if you want to, take deep breaths in any way you can, you know. So it feels good, you know, it feels like there's some flow. Jaw soft, eyes soft, okay? Just going to, while you're doing that, I'm going to release a wasp. There you go, that's the way out, Mr. Wasp. Anyway, giving him a root out. Now when you're ready, from the wiggling and melting again of the thoracolumbar fascia, just generally melting into the living moment, then you bring either leg, doesn't matter which one, forwards to the outside of its own hands. The hand in this case stays where it is. And then you begin to play backwards and forwards. You might lift the back knee up and replace it. You're playing. You might move backwards, like I've done here. You might move forwards. You might even let your leg roll out, if that feels good, so to the little toe side. You might think, well, tell me, which one, Jim, should I do? Experiment. You know, and into your set, see what the effect, absorb yourself on the inside, see what the effect is of different movements. And if a certain effect is increasing the intensity of the situation such that it begins to draw you naturally out of the past and the future and into this rich present, which is entirely aside from labels that we might give around the situation. I like it, I don't like it, it's mine, it's not mine. Instead of those labels, we give because, again, it's bhakti. Bhakti yoga is this devotional bhava, attitude. And I think, you know, traditional, I know it's traditional, but it's also, I think, essential for successful yoga on any level that you count success. Okay? When you're ready, back to hands and knees, take a few more deep breaths, right there. And again, you can wiggle around a little. Okay? And wiggle around a little. So you're loosening the lower back. And when you're ready, obviously, the other foot comes forward into the place of the other hand. And similarly, you play. This word lila, Lalita, the goddess Lalita, she who plays. So the goddesses that we hear about are actually one, and they're the living moment. So you're playing backwards, you're playing forwards. The elbows may come closer to the floor, may even come down. You can lift the back knee and replace it. So the thing is, you don't find in yoga texts this sort of dogmatic poses and they're done in this way and not in that way. What you find is this upaya, this skillful means using various techniques to disappear, as it were, into the goddess, Prakriti. You know, it's a sort of early prototype of this liberative sense of the goddess. Obviously, there are goddesses in the Vedas and so on. But those goddesses are more about blessings of various types. But this kind of goddess is about liberation. So we're not asking for favors or anything. What we're asking for is liberation. And we're asking for it by giving. There's lots of connections. Okay? When you're ready, back to hands and knees. And perhaps a little wiggle, what I call your bum. And take some deep breaths like that. And as soon as you're ready, come back up into Adho Mukha Svanasana, the downward facing dog position. And again, you can wiggle around a bit. Get those palms well planted. And do check that they are equidistant from the sides of the mat. Another check that's worth making is making sure that your middle fingers face the same way as each other, which should usually be forwards. Huh? It should be forwards in most cases. Certainly never inwards. Huh? And then breathing, playing. You could experiment with that line of energy I suggested earlier, through the inner armpit towards the inner groin. A line of energy that moves up. So in yoga, we often talk about influencing lines of energy, or currents, like a river has a current that influences the water, that influences the ducks, that influences the plants that are on or in that water, huh? Or in that current. So it influences everything. The current is the river. And this is what we're setting up, currents. The inner armpit up to the inner groin. And it's really traditional because it's part of visualizing and feeling and breathing into your actions. Well done. Okay, coming down. Again, you're back into your Vajrasana and taking deep breaths. Hopefully a few deep breaths. And it's very important if you want, this is a metaphor, you want the goddess to liberate you, you have to give to her. And in that regard, it's very important that you let your breath free. And the poses are helping. They really help to instruct the breath to come out. And when the breath isn't out, then it's caught up in the past or in the future, or in ideas or attachments about the self in the present. And we're very nervous about letting go of those kind of things sometimes. But you have to have trust. The goddesses nearly all have a hand raised up in Ubhaya Mudra, which means fear not. I can show you I'm looking in the room now, I can see 3 deities with Ubhaya Mudra. Kali, Bala, which is a version of Tripura, Sundari, and Shiva as well. Okay, release your hands. Now, for the pose after the one we're about to do, you're going to need a belt or dressing gown belt or regular yoga belt or something like that. So get that ready for the pose after the one we're going to do now. And if you've got it ready already, then you cross your legs like this, cross-legged. And there should be a gap between the legs and pelvis. There should be a gap between the legs and pelvis. And then you take your hands, you place them behind your bum, and you tuck under the buttocks towards the feet. So that might be 2 or 3 or 4 times, and then you come down to your elbows and forearms, and you tuck under again. For me, I don't know if it's my dimensions, but it works out real good for me to bring my fingers to the top of the buttocks and just tuck under there. That kind of works out real good for me, but it could be just arm length. And then you're coming down, then you stretch your arms over your head, for which you can sway them. For example, you can sway them to loosen off the various connective tissues. We've talked about the thoracolumbar fascia, but also, you know, fascia is everywhere. It's not just areas of fascia. The fascia doesn't recognize itself in sort of discrete areas. So you can move multiple times to move myofascia, which is muscle and fascia. And I find I need quite a lot of movements. Repetition seems to help. But even then, even with a lot of repetition, it could be that your shoulders are still really tight. You keep moving them and they're a bit better, but they're still not able to relax like that. In which case you can bring your arms out to the side. But if you can keep your elbows a little higher than your shoulders, that would be the best case scenario. And then you just breathe. Okay, so either way, if you can get them over the head, that's a good option because of the energy line from the inner groins up through the deep belly. Some of you know that correlates with the psoas muscle. And breathing deep, jaw soft. So if you don't know where the psoas muscle is, your extra homework today, before next class, so that means today, you need to look up today, is just to look up the psoas. P-S-O-A-S, psoas. Okay, change the cross of your legs. The other leg goes in front. Maybe you find utility in bringing your arms forwards and tucking under the buttocks again, along the crest, bony crest at the top back of the pelvis, known as the PSIS, posterior superior iliac spine. You don't have to know that, but just in case you want to. And then you're stretching and moving your arms multiple times. Well, I say you don't need to know that. If you're on teacher training, then you do. PSIS, posterior superior iliac spine. So if you're on teacher training, you've got 2 bits of homework, unless you already know the psoas very well. Look up the psoas, look up the posterior superior iliac spine. And if you're not, don't even worry about it. Just take some breaths. Okay, and then everyone takes some breaths. Because what you know and what you don't know also has to be let go of to the goddess for yoga to work. And that's it. You know, she will liberate you, but you have to give to her for her to be able to do that. You know, if you're lost at sea and then somehow someone comes along and they say, I can get you back home, but you have to give me control of the rudder, then you're like, okay, go, you know. And the goddess is like that, I can liberate you, but you've got to give totally to me here and now. It's not an abstract, actual person on the outside of you. You know, you're giving to your own intuition beyond conditioning. And to feel that intuition, you have to go beyond conditioning. And to go beyond conditioning, you have to give to the living moment. And then you reawaken as this sort of freed up version of yourself that's available. You know, that's available, given. Like you give yourself if you were dancing. You'd have to, after a while, if you wanted to enjoy dancing, or hugging, or cooking, you know, or whatever, you just gardening. Okay, now bring your legs back together. And this is where, as promised, you need your belt or strap or long sock or sarong or whatever it is. Where's mine? Okay, so you're laying on your back. Either way, BTW, if you need something under your head, well, you should take it. And you might, this is how you know, if your head tips back because the neck muscles are a little tight, then something under the head really can help keep those neck muscles nice and long. And the habit that drives the tension into the neck muscles also is usurped temporarily. And that means the furrow that habit digs becomes less deep. Right? Now raise up, I don't mind which leg, raise up your favorite leg. I know you don't really have a favorite. Anyway, raise up a leg. Bring the strap, belt, scarf, whatever it is around your foot, around the front of the heel. There are other places to place the belt, but we're going for the front of the heel. And then move your foot against the belt until you feel a sense that the way it's moving is bringing you together. It becomes a sort of a point, use that word point, bindu, around which to draw all the disparate parts together. Last week, perhaps the week before, I was talking about altar plates that you use to offer to gods, because I saw them when I went to Bath and I was transfixed by the goddess there, Sulis Minerva. So the altar plate is the body, you kind of, this present moment, the movement, your intention, because you use that to gather, you know, the disparate parts of yourself you didn't even know were disparate sometimes, you know. Attached to a worry, attached to a thought, attached to the future, attached to the past, attached to an idea about yourself in the present. You know, so this could be super useful without anything else needing to happen. But if you're ready to walk further up the strap, that's great. Your outer shoulder blades can even come off the floor. They don't have to, and of course, arm and leg length makes a difference. If you've got short legs and really long arms, you'll reach up to your foot, no problem. You've got really long legs and really short arms, well, you might never reach up to the foot, and that's no problem either. It's just the dimensions, isn't it? Now raise up the other leg, raise it up, with the knee bent, however, bent knee on that other leg. Now, when I say bent knee, what I'd like us to experience is that there's no activity in the front thigh muscles of that bent leg whatsoever. So you've got to breathe, and most of us have a little bit of subconscious action going on because we always think, I am being asked to do something. And so we create an I, and that I is a tense experience. So that might mean that many of us do feel at first that the foot is away from the back of the thigh. And that's because the quadriceps are engaged. But when the leg is soft at the front, the heel comes close to the bum. And it's quite interesting, because many of us carry so much tension with us. Now we're going to flex the hip, that is bring the thigh towards the pelvis. And then we're going to extend that lower leg by skimming the heel as if it was a stone skimming on water. So it travels away from us, then touches the floor at the first opportunity, lifts, touches, travels, keeps doing that like a stone skims, 2, 3, 4, 5 skims, drawing up energy or influencing energy through the front thigh, influencing energy. Remember we talked about a current in a river. And that influencing energy keeps flowing up through the front thigh. Once the leg is down, you can manipulate either or both feet more in ways that help you in your knees or hips, or just generally with integration. And the breath, of course, should be sahaja, spontaneous. Now we're going to hold the strap with one hand only, same hand as the leg. The other hand, which is now sort of spare, we give it a job, and that's to rest on the other leg at the top, okay? Rest on the other leg at the top, where it can either just rest, perhaps you've got warm hands and the warmth will allow the bone to release down, or if you don't have such warm hands, you could rub the leg around the outside, around the front, or pat it, or whatever kind of just gets whatever it is that's subconsciously tightening up and pulling the thigh bone up, to get that to let go, to surrender. So in this way, we purify our nerves. So it's breath, it's visualization, it's attention, and it's attitude, bhava. These are all the aspects of tantric meditation. There are 7 aspects in total of tantric meditation, anyway that I know of. Now, when you're ready, I hope there's room to the side of you. I should have warned you, but we're going to pull your leg towards you a bit more and then out to the side. Okay, visualize and feel a softening between the front hips. We're not mechanically pressing the opposite leg down or anything like that, but we're releasing what's pulling it up. So it's different, isn't it? So the other leg, the one that doesn't have the strap, we're not pushing it down or jamming it down or forcing it down, but we are releasing the tension that's pulling it up between the hips. For example, there's tension that could be released. So let's go back to those tantric aids or auxiliaries or tools. Visualization. Huh? If you feel your legs, you feel the space between the legs, and you visualize what you're feeling as softening, then it's going to help them to soften. Mantra. Mantras can be any positive thing that you repeat, you know, anything that's sort of positive. So it could be like release, a mantra like just the words release or relax, or a few words like this is good, you know, or whatever, you know, mantra. And that, of course, is connected with bhava, attitude. You know? Okay, bring the leg up, all the way up. Now again, I hope you've got room to the side of you because you're going to swap hands on the strap. The other hand's coming onto the strap, and then the leg's going to keep coming over, and you stretch out the opposite arm, and you breathe. And the lower leg, by the way, falls with the upper leg. You don't try and keep the lower leg facing up. And then it's breath. Wonderful for the pectoralis, the chest muscles. Wonderful. And it's breath. It's all about breath. The eyes are soft, the brain is soft, the throat is soft. Bring the leg back up when you're ready. Hold the strap with both hands, bend the lower leg, release the upper leg, place the belt on your tummy, momentarily place your hands temporarily under your head, and take deep breaths. So take deep breaths. So your fingers are underneath your head, you know, interlaced, and you're breathing, your hands are like a pillow. It's just a temporary stage. And your breathing should be deep and natural. So we're looking to say yes to the present moment. And in saying yes to the present moment, I've compared it in the past, of course, tuning out of one radio station to another. Huh? By saying yes to the present moment, that's purifying you, purifying your nervous system, because without overtly doing so, we're saying no to being caught up in the past and the future, or ideas about ourselves in the present. So by saying yes, we're purifying like that. And then, as we offer ourselves up to the present moment, aka the goddess, her living flow is liberative. It really is. Her living flow, by the way, includes everything: physical sensations, thoughts, things people are saying, movements of people in your house or in the street. You know, it's the flow of everything. Open yourself up to the flow of everything. And it all flows together and it interplays with each other. Now release your hands from behind your head, and guess what? Second leg time. Up it goes. Second leg round the foot, the belt is placed. And then tune in. Use movement to gather yourself together. So we have this expression ekagrata, also ekagratam, the same word. Ekagratam, ekagrata, it means one grasping, one point. So we just focused, using a focus on one activity, this activity of moving your foot against the strap, and noting how your breath is, because your breath is your truth teller, and using any kind of movement. It could also include movement of the leg, you know, could be moving fast, moving slow, hardly moving at all. any kind of movement that has this bringing together effect, this gathering effect, this coming together feeling. Okay, we're going to walk up the strap. Remember, the outer edges of the shoulder blades don't have to be on the floor, but the inner edges do. The inner edges do. As long as you can keep the inner edges of the shoulder blades on the floor, there's going to be a certain space in your chest. Breath deep, breath honest, breath easy, breath expressive. Neck soft, eyes soft, brain soft. Okay. Then flex up your other hip, lift your other foot. Remember, no activity in the quadriceps. Notice how it comes. Yeah? So keep your foot released as well. No activity in the anterior tibialis, the front shin. No activity at all in the flexors of the foot. So that front shin really passive, the neck really passive, the throat really passive, the eyes really passive, and the breath expressive. And then we're going to extend the legs, skimming, remember, like a stone, you can skim up across the water. So it extends away, lifts, touch and travels, lifts, touch and travels. As the back of the leg is stretching towards the heel, the front of the leg has this influencing energy going the other way, up through the leg. Huh? Influencing energy. If you think about influencing energy, currents, remember it's visualized and felt. Visualization, of course, is a brilliant form of language that covers all bases. It covers the fact that your body is emotional. It covers the fact that the body is mechanical. It covers the fact that the body is psychological. It covers the fact that the body is interdependent. If you visualize, you can cover all of these. But if you use just plain words, they tend to be much more divisive. They tend to separate what is actually not separate. Now, when you're ready, hold the strap with one hand only. Same hand as the leg that's raised. One hand, good. Then the other hand is freed up to go on the other thigh, where it can rub or pat around the outside, or just rest. The point is, it's trying to ease this sense of grasping multiple things as self, this habit. And so in other words, make it even simpler, a profound, physically expressed, spiritually expressed release. A profound, super-sensual, breath-centered, powerful even, not because you're making it so, but because it is. So what we're interested in is efficacy. Only what's actually effective now. We're not interested in attaching to, something we've read or a particular viewpoint that we've got attached to. Okay. When you're ready, pull the thigh towards you a bit. Go on, pull it. And then out to its own side. Remember to visualize and feel between the front hips. So visualizing and feeling are both part of traditional tantric yoga, and they've always been part of the way I've taught, because it doesn't make sense not to incorporate those, because they're so effective if we're interested in efficacy. So if you visualize between the front hips melting, if you have an attitude that is maximally supportive for your, profound, sensual release of your thigh bone and your inguinal ligament between your hips. When you're ready, bringing up that leg and swap hands in mid-air, and it continues over, and you stretch out your other arm, and you breathe deep. And you breathe into your back arm, you keep the jaw soft. Eyes are relaxed. And it's a meditation. You're disappearing into it. Okay. You're giving to it. Remember that spirit of giving, bhakti. It's getting quite popular, bhakti yoga now, isn't it? It used to be just a bit of a you know, Hare Krishna's doing it, and no, not many others, but quite popular now. Bring your leg up, and quite rightly so. And then the lower leg bent and the top leg down. And hands under your head. So bhakti yoga, devotional yoga, is important if you get the right end of the stick, as it were. It's not just another form of dispowering religion, you know, where you cast the deity out there and you ask, you know, your sort of little humble, weak self says, please can I have some scraps from your table. That's not what bhakti is. You're giving to Ishvara, Ishvari, the god, Devi, the goddess, Deva, Mahadeva, whatever you want to call it, but it's what it is that part of you that's not attaching to past and future as self, and so is available and so to the present, and so it has information. And that information is so profound and total that it has powers. The power to know, the power to desire the right thing, and the power to act. Now, lift up your feet, let your lower back kiss the floor, breathe into it. So again, this is giving to the deity. You know, and sometimes doubt comes up. Doubt's an obstacle, don't pick it up. If you know if your legs drift away, you might think, is that allowed? Just don't pick it up. If it's absorbing, it's allowed. You know, if you're disappearing into the goddess, and the goddess is, you know, ungraspable, then that's it. You don't need anyone to tell you that that's right or wrong. Now we're going to bring our heads up. Perhaps the knees come closer together if they were apart. And without putting strain on the neck, we're using our abdominals, so pushing the lower back into the floor. And the elbows come towards the knees, and the knees also towards the elbows. So the back of the pelvis can even lift up. And you breathe into it, and you share. Look, okay, that's probably enough. Head down, feet down. Everyone takes a deep breath once the feet are down. Go ahead, you particularly. Come on, just let it happen. You're just giving to the goddess. She will liberate you. On Saturday, I mentioned Misha Rue Jr. I could have mentioned Marcus Waring, but when I've got a beard, I'm often compared to Marcus Waring, so I avoided mentioning him. Anyway, roll onto your side while I complete this marvelous and fascinating story. Roll onto your side. Bend the leg you're laying on. You could be facing the screen if that's an option, but you don't have to. But you're going to bend the leg you're laying on. Okay? So it's 90-degree angle at the back of the knee between the calf and the thigh. That's a 90-degree angle. Okay? And there's another 90-degree angle between your thigh and your tummy. Two 90-degree angles, calf and thigh, thigh and tummy. And then you're going to lift your back leg, extend it, and look for length. So back to my Misha Wu story, but this is relevant, this is appropriate to now. If he came in my kitchen and I was cooking and he said, would you like me to take over? I'd be, yes, absolutely. I'm an okay cook, but he's better. Like it is better. So I give to him without even, you know, yes, please, you know, I'll be your porter. You know, I'm not going to get Misha Wu to peel the carrots for me, but I'll peel them for him. You know, because he knows. And in the same way, you give naturally to her, to the living moment, because she liberates you, you know, by stopping you clinging. And then you access what some traditions call your original person, Purusha, that which is free, that which is unbounded, that which has powers to know. Okay, once the leg has got length in the inner groin, you bring it down, it's still giving, the metaphor is still relevant. Giving to this supersensual present moment, suck then your tummy in when you're ready and up, and then push into the floor and lift and turn your chest to face the floor, and then down on your elbows, forearms and wrists. And then it's breath, it's all about the breath. Must get that turned into a t-shirt. It's all about the breath. And you can move left and right, getting that tissue, the thoracolumbar tissue, to melt. And the jaw is soft, the eyes are soft. And your breath is coming and going freely. Your elbows should be further forwards than your shoulders by a small amount. but they definitely should be further forwards than your shoulders. Yeah, only a small amount, but it's definitely there. Okay, top leg on top of the bottom leg, curl up from the side and then down again to the other side. So you're just swapping which end your feet are and your head is. You bend your lower leg and you make sure you've got a 90-degree angle between calf and thigh and tongue. Okay, you've got those 90-degree angles. And then giving to the goddess, or in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, he talks about giving to Ishvara, which is that which knows, which is like a sort of, version of that principle, because Ish means to master, to have mastery of something. So as you live the back groin and play, you're giving to that which knows, which you can reverse engineer this really easily, because if you go to doubt, that shows that you're going to the wrong place. So just drop the doubt, don't pick doubt up, and you won't go to the wrong place. Because doubt is just your personal experience of going to the wrong place, going to somewhere where there's no information for information. So you come back with doubt because you didn't know. So you let go of doubt, that means you're not going to the wrong places of information. And you go into what's called trust instead. Shraddha in Sanskrit, Saddha in Pali, if you're interested in early Buddhism. Now eventually the leg comes down, but you're keeping your focus, right? On the inner groin and the space and the meditative feel and the breath. And that, once that comes down, you suck in that tummy, push, lift, turn, boom, you're on your elbows, forearms and wrists. Huh? That jaw is soft, you're playing, moving backwards, moving forward, moving left, moving right. The eyes are soft, and the play is melting tense tissue. You could call it tense tissue, it's a way of talking. Such as the tissue on the outside of the bent leg, the iliotibial band, or also known as the iliotibial tract. And then the connective tissue on the back, which you can feel, I'm sure you can feel it on your lower back. And through to the middle back, you can massage and play that tissue. Good job, top leg on top of the bottom leg. Curl up on the side. Okay, now you need a block or a book or something like that, again, because we're going to sit on that. Could be a couple of blocks or a couple of books. Come and check on you all, make sure you're all okay. Everyone okay? Okay? Yeah, great. Oh, good. I do love to see you all doing that as well. It's just so profoundly cheering. Don't know why. Anyway, sitting on a block with your legs extended, and then your legs are going to go to one side of your pelvis. Doesn't matter which side, because there's only you or you plus one other perhaps in the room, or you plus a cat or something, or you plus a dog, and they don't tend to judge this kind of thing. Legs are over to one side, so it's ready for Bharat Vajrasana. Now here, somewhere on your lower leg between here and here, you press down into the arch of the other foot. So the arch of the other foot should be pointing that way. Of course, you can sit on more to give you space in the knees, for example. But if you are sat on more, chances are you're going to need something higher behind you as well to put your hand onto. Whatever works. Those are things you could use, I'm sure. Lift and shift. Perhaps you can feel all the connective tissue strings and kind of pulling and lifting. It's quite useful to sort of feel that. And you can lift and shift and replace so that your bones are well supported, that the tissues aren't pulling the bones in ways that are disagreeing. One tissue pulling the bone one way, another tissue pulling the bone the other way. So this lifting and shifting is to replace with a sense of greater ease in the body. Now, without raising your back leg, which is the one near your feet, lift up your body on the inhale. On the exhale, turn away from your feet and breathe easy. One hand crosses over both legs. The other hand's cupped on the floor or on a block or book behind you. Eyes are soft, brain is relaxed. Breathing is deep and expressive. Okay, again, we come to this emphasis on expressive breathing. So expressive is attitudinal. Attitude makes a difference. Of course it does. Of course it does. You might feel tense and worried about a job interview or something. Not that I ever go for job interviews, but I have in the past. Then I can get a tummy ache or tight shoulders or neck ache or even a back ache or pain in the back of the pelvis or even into the legs. Tension causes things in the body, and so does release. Attitude matters. Attitude affects us. Turn back to center. Well done. Legs over to the other side. So when you're ready, legs over to the other side of your bum. Don't forget to have as much under your bum as you need, but excuse me, let me remind you, you'll need something under your, something higher for your hand behind you if you do sit on more blocks. 1 foot back, 1 foot across. Now lifting and shifting. I don't know if it takes time. I imagine it might take time for these visualized aspects to become felt as well, but you might be feeling them already. Such as this visualized aspect of these fibers connecting different parts of the body that you lift and shift and replace until the bones feel well placed, spacious and peaceful. Shanti, it's peace, isn't it, in Sanskrit? Now lift and turn, but without lifting your back leg, away from your feet. We recommend nasal breathing, breathing through the nose if possible. In more deep breaths, perhaps you can focus on releasing that which doesn't need to be tight. Could be there's a tension in a part of the body that's correlating to a tension in your breath. But again, reverse engineering, releasing your breath while aware of a part of the body could be really useful. Releasing knees, groins, buttocks, both of. Until you come into intimacy. Okay, well done. Return again to center and catch another deep breath or two. From there, we're going to bring ourselves again, the last time, into Adho Mukha Svanasana. Last time today, unless you're coming tonight, 7:30 tonight, it's an advert. Then, coming up into Adho Mukha Svanasana. Why wouldn't you come tonight? Why wouldn't you do double yoga? Crazy not to. Anyway, now please go. Again, multiple things you could focus on. I've mentioned extending a line, an influencing line or current along the inside edge of your armpit towards your inner groins. That's great. I find that very useful indeed. It's not mechanical, it's an influencing current, but it's repeated. It's reiterated. Or it's maintained. Another thing you could do, which is also useful and interesting, is to balance an extension through the inner armpit with an equal extension through the outer arm. And that's, you might need to move left and right to really tune in. Remember, it's like tuning out of one radio station by tuning into another. That's how you get rid of one radio station. That is representing the sort of divided reality that sometimes we feel we're living in. We tune out of that into the undivided reality, which negates clinging. The living reality itself. Okay, well done. From there, coming back. Now here we're going to come to Balasana, which means little child, Bala. So here we have a version of, just show you up close at the moment. Well, see. This is Bala. Bala. Okay, she's a version of the goddess Tripura Sundari, Bala. Right, and that means little girl, because there's one version of her where she's a little girl. Anyway, just thought I'd show the wonderful goddess. She's to do with this yantra here, the Sri yantra, that you might recognize. Anyway, contact Kadeen Morecambe for more information. She's the root of all wisdom and goddess stuff. Toes together, knees apart. Okay, not too wide with the knees. Now here you might want some or need something between your heels and bum here. But if you do, you're going to need something a little higher for you to bring your head and hands onto. If your bum's raised, you're going to need something higher in front of you. So I'll show you. I'm going to grab a random item from the kitchen where I am now. A bucket. I've got a bucket. Because you know, that's just an example. So if I had blocks between my heels and buttocks like this, I might also have a couple of books for my head, and then I could use a bucket, for example, like that. So that's what I do if I had, I needed to sit with a block between the heels and buttocks, but you might not. So you can sit either with or without. Either way, we're coming forward slowly, dropping the groins, fingertips, and it's a discipline. That is a discipline not to rush, a discipline not to feel like you're reaching out for the future, but you're staying in a relationship of trust with the present, with the goddess. So you only come forwards as you feel a release in the groins. And it takes you into one of the many beneficial attitudes or bhavas that yogis get into, and that is the attitude of timelessness. The attitude of timelessness. A few more breaths where you are. Groins dropping. Now coming up the way we went down, so there's still that dropping feeling on the top of the thighs. Still the dropping feeling. As you come all the way up and catch up with your breath. So let your shoulders drop, brain relax, throat relax. We're going to lay on our backs. It is officially corpse pose time, but we're going to do a couple of, because you know, I can't quite stop. I can't quite stop. But we're not going to go massively over, maybe a couple of minutes over. So we are going to lay on our back. We're not going to do corpse pose quite yet. We're very soon, I promise. So I guess you might want to have corpse posey stuff around, blankets or whatever, so you can grab it in a minute after our couple of little extras. And we're going to lay on our back. Okay, we'll lay on our backs. Well, we do a couple of little extras, as I say. First one, once you're on your back, is to raise one leg and just flex the foot between dorsi and plantar flexion. Back and forth. Of course, that's going right the way through the leg. And quite a nice simple thing. So you can also move your ankle, inwardly, outwardly, half circles, whatever. Feel natural. You can even move your whole leg like this, backwards and forwards, combined with movements of your foot. It's not restless, it's not uncertain. It's certain because it's an expression from the moment. And it's an expression from the moment because you have an attitude of devotion. Okay. An attitude of gratitude. I serve a better person in the kitchen because Michelle Rue, Marcus Waring, because they know just naturally it wouldn't be a problem for me, or for you, I'm sure. Once you're ready, you turn the leg out, whole leg out, and then bend at the knee and cross that leg over the other one, just above the outer ankle. In other words, you push your leg so that the outer ankle is not pushing on your thigh. You're just above it. Lift the foot on the floor, lift your head, there's a little gap between the legs, plunge through it, and if you can, you reach around your far shin, and if you can't, you go around your back thigh, then you bring your head back down again. And then a little bit of rolling around. Rolling left, rolling right. Rolling with the head, rolling with the body, and head together, or just the body rolling and the head staying still. Jaw soft. It's a good one to play with for a while, but we'll come out nice and easy. Stretch out that leg again, give it a little rub. And then when you're ready, swap to the other. Make sure that feels vital. Move the foot, move the leg, half circles, full circles, dorsiplantar flexion. Lots of different actions that could be taken. Good. And when you're ready, you turn the heel in and the toes out, the leg rotates out, you bend at the knee, push beyond the lateral malleolus, the outer ankle, just push beyond that, just a bit, and then lift the foot that's on the floor off the floor, plunge through, interlace, and roll about a bit. Roll left, roll right. Look for sensations that you can't really speak, It's like you can't speak because it's taken you, And that's as it should be. That's the goddess. That's us delivering ourselves, giving ourselves easily. Easily. To the flow of the moment. In Sankhya Yoga, that's called Prakriti. That is a feminine term. Prakriti does get turned in many traditions into a goddess. And then from that basic goddess, we get various other goddess forms. And this is the goddesses that are liberative goddesses. Not just goddesses that we might find in the Rig Veda, which are beautiful and lovely, like Ushas, goddess of the dawn, but liberative goddesses. Saraswati we find as well. But some of these original goddesses are turned into these liberating goddesses. Okay, when you're ready, release. Our last pose, you stretch out your legs a bit if they need it, just to kind of make sure your knees feel fine, and then we're going to reach through for our yoga mat, or if you've got long arms and a short torso, you might find it okay to hold your front shins, but most of us hold the yoga mat is better. Light tone on the tummy, inhale. Exhale, lift your bum. Okay? When you're ready, lift your bum. So you're either holding the yoga mat, but you're turning your arms out, or you're holding your front ankles and you're turning your arms out. And you're coming to the top of your shoulders. The shoulder blades are deepening into the back ribs. The tummy is lightly toned. You might move a little to deepen your integration, sense of integration. And then slow and easy coming down, arms roll in, feet walk away from the bum, We're coming into Savasana, so get the arms, palms up, head support if you need it, blanket over the top of you if you want it. It's palms up, of course, shoulder blades tucked under. Arms a generous position from the body, as most of you look like you've got. And of course, in many texts, this is the definitive giving moment, isn't it? It's the definitive. When what is to be given is not defined, we have to presume that it's everything. Weight, ideas about oneself, attachments to the past and future, which we often ironically attach to because we think, I've got to solve this problem from the past, or I've got to solve this problem in the future. When the past is gone, you can't solve anything in the past. And the future hasn't happened yet, you can't solve anything in the future. And sometimes we attach to the past and the future because we think they define us. The wonderful and marvelous David Bowie, of course, released posthumously a single after he died. He didn't release it, but his record company did, called No Plan, which was a song he sung when he realized he wasn't gonna make it. And he was like, oh, this is what it's like to live with no plan, no constructed future. So there's a beautiful emptiness there. No past, no future, no ideas about oneself in the present. Then you're given to the goddess, and the goddess in all her kindness liberates you immediately. You can offer yourself entirely to her, like me offering myself to Michel Roux Jr., who's happened in my imagination to come into my kitchen, and I'm like, just let me help you, just tell me what, I just give myself over to you, your greater knowledge. Just wiggle your toes a little and maybe your fingers. Yeah. And then if your legs aren't bent, you can bend them now. Little tuck under the buttocks and a completely free, deep breath where you give the lower back entirely to the breath. And then roll onto your left side when you're ready. Roll onto your left side. And I think it's lovely to really lay comfortably there, both arms over with you, knees drawn up, so there's a lovely softness to your tummy. And roll again when you're ready. Again, softness to your tummy. I find that softness is sort of draws me into it. Then when you're ready, start bringing yourself round. You might rub your eyes. You might stretch out an arm or a leg. And you can come up when you feel ready to from the side. Thank you so much. Really, really good to see you. Thank you.